Guys, let's talk to Mike O'Hara, DetroitLions.com, longtime beat writer. Been covering this series for a long time. Mike, thanks so much for the time, buddy. Good afternoon to you.
Look.
Well, hey, Tommy. Hey, guys, thanks for having me. Hey, can I just give you one little sports moment before we start on the football? Yeah, I just watched watching the Tigers game. That's, I think, the fifth inning or the sixth inning. Bases loaded, 5-0 lead. And Cabrera works the pitcher for a walk. Now, why not just close your eyes and take 3 blind swings? You know what I mean? That's what like I would do. But you know what? That's not the way you do it. And that's why he's got... that's why he is who he is, and everybody else is everybody else. So it's just cool watching.
Hey, Mo, I got one question for you, Mo.
That was great.
In the second game, Mo, are the Tigers facing an insurmountable 0-0 tie?
That goes back a ways, Tommy. I think we'll pass on that.
All right, buddy.
It
reminds me of how old I am.
It feels insurmountable. Hey, Mike, let me ask you, first and foremost, how about the Lions going for a 4th straight win against the Packers? I mean, I went back to see when the last time they did that. It actually wasn't too long ago. It was like 2017, 2018. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly those rules, but I know the last 12 games are 7-5, and like you said, they're going, for their 4th straight. They beat them 3 in a row, which obviously how they're going to go for 4. But I think that whole the whole thing of the Packers being just insurmountable, that doesn't exist anymore. First of all, half these guys weren't there when all those wins were built up, and I don't think they care about it anyway. I just think that the Detroit Lions are who they are now, and no matter who they play, that's they're playing against an opponent. They don't care about the history of it.
No doubt about it. And Mike, let me add, last year 5-1 against the division. This year, its first game against a divisional opponent. If you look at the standings, I mean, I know it's only 3 games, but with the Bears in Minnesota at 0-3, you really could put a stranglehold on this thing early on, could you not?
Well, I think both teams will be in pretty good shape after this game, no matter what. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're got a 3.5 game lead and really have played, some pretty good opponents, and I don't think anybody, shouldn't say anybody. I picked it as a 2-point game, but I don't think anybody really picked that the Lions are going to win the opener. Not many people anyway, and they did. So I think the Lions are about where they should be at 2-1. I think. Sure, 3-0. Yeah, if they had to, lost to Seattle in overtime. But like I said, I think they are where they should be, and they're sort of where I predicted they would be, at least in the progression of this season.
Hey, Mike, always good to talk to you. Braylon here. Am I open?
Braylon, my man, hold on.
What's
Not
up,
so
Mike?
fast. Let's talk.
What you got for me, Mike?
My good buddy from the Green Acres neighborhood. Come by and visit someday, okay?
You're bringing up the neighborhood. I definitely got to come back. Green Acres is where I grew up, ladies and gentlemen. Every time I'm over in that area on 8 Mile and Woodward, I always stop in there, Big Mike. So I definitely,
great.
Next time I'll pop in.
Well, I've been here since 1980, so I'm sure I'll be here.
I did my stint in 93 to 2005 and got out
Look
of it.
at you.
All right, but
that's not a stint. That's a view.
Don't do me like that. Mike, real question.
Anyway, go ahead. I'll shut up.
No. You're good. You're always good. Here's the real question. Real question is for me. The Green Bay Packers, I don't believe them to beat too much. I don't make much of the Chicago win, the Falcon win, and neither do I about the Saints win in which Derek Carr got injured. Now that the Lions, they get David Montgomery back. They get Taylor Decker back. They do trust Sam Laporta now. They understand what they can do on offense, and then the defense played like they played last week. Am I wanting too much for Detroit to handily beat Green Bay? Am I undervaluing Green Bay?
No, I don't think you're undervaluing them. I think one thing, though, and this is just my own opinion, I don't think that the Green Bay Packers, with all the things they've done, like in the last 18 to 20 years, the rosters they've built, the games they've won, the one Super Bowl, they probably should have won more than one. Yeah. But I don't think that they would have let Aaron Rodgers go to anybody if they didn't think they had a good roster and somebody to play quarterback for them. No, not going to be a Hall of Famer, probably not anyway. But I thought, it just didn't compute that they would just give up their future Hall of Fame quarterback if they didn't think they were in pretty good shape at that position, or had enough around it, to get through the season and continue to build on it. So I think we've been a little too hasty to think of the complete decline of the Green Bay Packers. In my preseason picks, I picked the Lions to win this division, the Packers for second place, Minnesota for third, and I forgot, I think, who's the fourth team? Oh, Chicago. Oh, my God.
They don't exist.
The Monsters of the Midway. Wait till Halloween comes.
One Super Bowl. Bowl.
Hey, Mo, what's your thoughts this early on this great tight end that they drafted in Sam Laporta? I think he is trending to be one of the better ones in the league here in the next year or two.
It certainly looks like it, and I like the way he plays. Look, you can get guys who pick up a lot of statistics, but really, I think you also have to look at the way they play too. And the thing about him is it's almost effortlessly for him.
Yep.
The way he catches the ball, turns upfield, and adds yardage. Now, look, I was a big T.J. Hawkinson fan. I really was. When I say fan, I'm talking about as a player. And he's a good guy too, but just as a player, he's always going to catch a lot of balls. But what kind of yards after the catch is T.J. going to get? It's just not in his DNA to turn upfield, and he's not that nimble. But this guy, Laporta, I mean, look, he's done some amazing things already. He's got 18 catches in 3 games. You're talking about on course for a 100-catch season, and he's already developed a rapport with his quarterback. So, you know what? Yeah, we could expect too much of him, but I think we're already getting, signs that it's not too much.
All right, but how about on the other kid that they drafted in the first round, Jahmyr Gibbs? What's your take on him going this early?
Well, I want to see more, but you always do out of a running back. I thought is he the guy who had 7 carries for 17 yards against Seattle, or is he the guy who had 17 carries for 80 yards in the last game? And in that game, he really kind of broke it open with his back-to-back carries of the 21. I think it was 23 yards or 21 yards and 13 yards. 13-yarder up the middle, and then 21 yards down the left sideline. He really showed a little bit of what, to me, is to come. He's one of the guys that I really spent a lot of time looking at in the draft before, in March and April before the draft came out. And I thought, if he's there, if I'm the Detroit Lions, because I didn't expect Bijan and Robinson to be there, I thought he was a guy, if I were the Detroit Lions, I would really look, depending on who else is on the board, I'd look really hard at him to draft him in the first or second round. As it turned out, they got him in the first round.
All right, Mo, now I'm the only guy here that basically is still crying about DeAndre Swift not being on this team. I just want to ask you, in hindsight, should they have not kept this guy around as a safety valve? Because let's face it, I know the best ability is availability, and I know he's played half his games with the Lions, 60%, whatever. But you had a rookie contract, and he's playing for a contract. Now, people say, yeah, he's going to be a malcontent. He's a pro. Now, if you kept him, now you don't have to rush David Montgomery back tonight. I'm just saying. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I never saw anything in the 3 years that he was here. He was a malcontent. Was he a guy who maybe wanted the ball a little bit more? Probably. He's a running back. Running backs and wide receivers. What do they want? They want the ball. Why wouldn't they? That's
right.
How they make their living. That's what they do for a living. But no, I didn't think it was a bad move at all. I thought, first of all, they've got 2 players now that they used in that draft, and I just didn't think you could trust him to stay healthy. And look, he looks terrific now, and he made some great plays here with the Detroit Lions, but it never stood up. It never stood the test of time. So no, I was not against it at all. I liked his ability. I loved it, but he also had a couple of holes in his game that you don't see him when you see 3 highlights a week on a player. But no, I'm not surprised that he's done well. As a matter of fact, he was my pick at running back of the year he came out. And I thought the Detroit Lions at the end of the first round, I told Tim Twentyman, my writing partner at DetroitLions.com, if I'm the Detroit Lions, I make a trade to get him with the first pick of the second round. Well, they didn't have to trade, and they got him, I think, with the 3rd pick in the second round. So that's how high I was on him.
Mike, here's a quick question. I'm going to try to lay this out for you. We know Dan Campbell as a gambler. That's what he's been in the first 2.5 years that he's been the head coach for the Detroit Lions. And then we second-guessed himself week 2 against Seattle. He comes out and against Atlanta week 3. More conservative game plan, which I like. I said, hey, if you got a good defense, playing a good defense, don't give them any extra opportunities. Until yesterday, Mike, I'm listening to Dan Campbell at the podium, and he says, if I could regret one thing from last week, I think I was too conservative. Am I the only one that found that a bit odd and is a little bit worried, or should I just let that go as Dan Campbell trolling the media and having some fun?
Well, I don't know about trolling. I'm not exactly sure what that means in this modern era.
Just messing with the media, if you will.
Oh, I get it. Well, yeah, and I thought, and talked to a couple other guys, I thought it was just deadpan comedy. I really did.
Okay,
I thought he just stared out there, and later he had another line after that was, "You're going to get 2 or 3 out of him every session." One of the things I thought he said though, said yesterday was he was talking about the young players, the rookies going to Green Bay for the first time, and he says, "Guys, get ready to live. It's absolutely," he said, "it's an experience of a lifetime. You'll never forget it. Your first game at Lambeau." And I think Dan talks to players, and they look at him as a former player and a head coach who knows what he's talking about. And I think he's a lot smarter than we think he is, and he's pretty smart.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you about the Lions defense just as a whole. You know, if you looked at this team last year, they ranked 29th in rushing yards allowed, 146.5 yards a game. This year, through 3 games anyway, 72 yards a game. That's 5th best in the NFL. What do you think their game plan or their defensive scheme has been? Do you think it's just better players? Do you think it's been a concerted effort they cut that in half.
Well, I think this. I think what you have to do, and some other guys have done this, and I don't have the figures right in front of me, but if you go back and look at what they did the last 10 games of the season, they were not the 29th rated team. You know what it's like? It's sort of like starting your golf round with 3 straight 9s. Try and have a good round.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'd have 4
That's
more
tough.
before I got done, but
That's
sort of the analogy I'm making. They were much better defensively in almost every category in the last 10 games than they were in the first 7. So I think you have to take that into account now. They had a couple of stinkos in there too, like Carolina Panthers. I think we had for 3 Bills, something like that.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And so so they had their moments there. They got beat 25-0, I think it was, by the Patriots. But overall, those last 10 games where they were 8-2, they didn't get those in the mail. Well, they got those out there on the playing field, and they were much better defensively than they were, say, the first 6 or 8 games.
And just moreover, I don't know about rushing yards. I'd have to go back and do that, but I do know points. Last year, the first 7 games of the season, the Lions allowed 30 points a game. In the last 10, they allowed 20 points a game. And then early on this season, they held Kansas City to 20. They held Atlanta to 6. And, of course, Seattle scored 31 in regulation, but 7 of those points came on a pick 6. So you could even call it 24. This Lions defense is not allowing a lot of points at all.
No, and especially in modern era of football, the modern era, which changes every week or every year. But it's a different game right now. You're not going to see teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers or some of the others that just absolutely shut people out for 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time. Those days are gone. The rules don't. They want offense, and they're going to get offense. And with offense comes points. But I think they've done a couple of things the way they played their linebackers the last couple of weeks. I mean, Alex Anzalone is. Look, I've always thought that he was an undervalued, underrated player here in his first 2 years with the Lions, but he really set the tone for that game last week. I mean, look, he's fast, he's smart, he's got good leadership qualities, and he's really, really built. That guy is strong, super strong. I think that's been part of it too. I think the better players. I think they're starting to get a feel for all of it.
Hey, Mike, final question. I know the players, of course, they go game to game. They don't look past the next one. But
at all.
At all. But for us, we do. This thing here, you've got Green Bay tonight, Carolina, Tampa, Baltimore looks very beatable. The Colts got them
Raiders.
at home. Then the Raiders, the Chargers, they always blow games at the end. The Bears, the Packers, the Bears again. I mean, this thing, looks like the Detroit Lions are ripe for a serious run here. Does it not? Or am I in la-la land here?
Both.
Fair enough, Mike. Fair enough. Well said.
And that's not a bad place to be either. Look, I think there's legitimate reasons. I think this is a legitimately good football team. It's, my projection for them at the start of this season, and I'll back up on one other thing too before we go. My projection for this season, and I just checked it again, was 10-7, but 10 was sort of my bottom. I could see them getting to 11 or 12. I don't see them falling through the bottom at all. Just to give you a year ago, and I make my projections in a column we have called the Monday Countdown, and the first Monday Countdown of the season is my projections. And I went back and looked after the season, where I had put the Detroit Lions. I picked them to go 9-8. I looked at it and I said, I must have been crazy. Why could I do a thing? But you know what? Turned out to be right. And you know what? I really think I'm right this season too. I think this is a 10-7 team with the ability. You never heard about injuries. They've already partially weathered that storm a little bit, and they're getting guys back. But this has a chance to be more than a 10-win team.
No doubt about it. And look, a 12-win team. I mean, a 12-win team might get you the 2 seed in the NFC. It really might. Outside San Francisco, and then Philadelphia and Dallas might beat each other. Yeah. We'll see what happens there. Mike, thanks so much for the time, my friend. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll be reading you on DetroitLions.com in the morning.
Well, you're the one. Hey, thank you.
Hey, Mo.
I got to come back Green Acres, though. I got to come by and show love.
You sure do. I mean, come on, knock on the door. I'll let you in.
This is true. I appreciate it. Thank
Mo,
you for letting me in.
This is for you, Mo, because I know you probably don't know how to get Amazon on your TV. You could watch the game tonight on Fox 2.
Look at that. Just for you, Mike.
Fox 2. All right. Great.
How about that?
One of the pleasures of living in Detroit.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
See you, brother.
That's great.